It's true, we are live here in Mombasa. We have been covering the blue economy, and of course we have covered different facets of this sector that has been erstwhile left out in subsequent or in the previous planning. Well, today we want to talk to the maritime safety, and joining us on the set is Kenya Maritime Authority Director General, Major Retired George Okong'o, to explain to us what the agency is doing in order to ensure that there is safety in our waters. Thank you very much indeed, Major Retired, for joining us here. First of all, tell me this. Maritime safety is a critical cog in the wheel of blue economy. Where are we and what are we doing to ensure that our waters are safe?
Thank you, my brother. First and foremost, I would like to thank you for having given me this opportunity to come live in KBC. As an authority, first of all, we derive our mandate from Section 4 of the Kenya Maritime Authority Act, and we are mandated to regulate, coordinate, and oversee maritime affairs in Kenya. Our role as an authority in the blue economy, first and foremost, we have various functions as the authority that we need to undertake. Among them is basically to administer the provisions of the Merchant Shipping Act and regulations that are used to regulate the maritime sector in our country. And as an authority, the roles that we are taking as of now to harnessing the blue economy, one is about the youth empowerment and job creation. Secondly, we have ship registration. Thirdly, we have protection of the marine environment. Fourthly, need to talk about maritime safety and maritime security. And lastly, the legal and regulatory framework. Yes. Now, coming to the first one, that is youth empowerment and job creation. We are actually implementing the Vijana Baharia project. This is aimed at ensuring and equipping our youth with the necessary seafarer skills such that they can be able to be deployed or employed on board ship that is within the local industry and also in the international industry. And as an authority, we have to ensure that those maritime training institutions that are offering this training meet the internationally accepted standards, because as you are aware that Kenya, we are in the white list, which we were admitted in 2010. And this is basically confirms how we as an authority, we are maintaining on the standards of satisfaction, standards of training, satisfaction of watchkeeping for seafarers by the IMO.
Very well. Tell me this. We have also had, cases of, Chinese trawler vessels, coming to our waters, to do illegal fishing. We have also seen a situation whereby we have seen the rising number of casualties, coming from capsizing boats and seaworthy boats. What is the authority doing about this?
Thank you, O'Brien. First and foremost, as an authority, sometimes in April this year, we did issue notices on all vessel owners, shipping agents, shipping liners, and masters who are operating vessels solely in our Kenyan waters. And we did give notice that they need to do registration of those vessels, they need to license those vessels, and that elapsed on the 1st of June this month. Yep. And if you've been keen of late, the authority has been basically sensitizing the key stakeholders, and we started this program in Homa Bay. That was last month. So basically what we are doing now is we are sensitizing the key stakeholders. Those are the fishermen, the passengers who are basically boarding these vessels, to ensure that first and foremost that we have our ship inspectors who inspect those vessels to ascertain that these vessels are seaworthy. That's the first thing. Secondly, as an authority, we must check on the documentation, the certificates for those coxswains who are steering these vessels. Are those certificates valid? Because as an authority, we are the ones who actually regulate them. And then thirdly, we have to ensure that the safety equipment on board these vessels at least meet the minimum bare requirements. So as an authority, that is what we've been doing. And starting this week, on Tuesday, I did open a sensitization workshop in Kisumu. And actually, as we are talking now, part of the enforcement commenced 2 days ago, whereby those vessel operators, the vessel owners who are basically operating illegally without the necessary documentation and also certification from the authority, they are basically apprehended and brought to book.
Very well. We have also seen, in a bid to secure our waters, we have also seen the creation of the Kenya Coast Guard. How are you working together, to coordinate safety and security of our waters?
Thank you, O'Brien. Collaborations that we are having with the Kenya Coast Guard, first and foremost, the Kenya Coast Guard came into being last year on 19th November, whereby His Excellency the President did officially launch the Kenya Coast Guard services. You do realize that initially before that, the Kenya Navy was basically doing the patrols in our entire coastal strip. But you say the Kenya Navy, once they used to do the patrol, or once they do the patrols, if at all they have the culprits at sea, they could arrest them, but basically hand them over to the police, because that prosecutorial powers the Navy doesn't have. So the creation or the establishment of Kenya Coast Guard is basically a very big positive to us. Us as an authority, our inspectors go and inspect those vessels. Once we've ascertained that a certain number don't fulfill those requirements, now, since we have now the Kenya Coast Guard, with the collaboration Kenya Coast Guard, we can always avail that these vessels have been certified to be seaworthy, these ones are not seaworthy, and then they can basically get hold of these guys because they have the capability to patrol our seas, of which we don't have as an authority.
Very well. Definitely, because we have to come to the end of the engagement this afternoon. Finally, I want to give you 30 seconds for you to tell us, how is KMA, helping the growth of the blue economy?
Yeah, as an authority, basically we are charged with the responsibility of maritime education training. We are basically the custodians of various training institutions. We do approve training programs and also approve the training institutions that offer this maritime curricula. So you cannot talk about the blue economy, first of all, without having people who are highly trained and skilled in the seafarer, with the seafarer skills. So as an authority, we have to ensure that, first and foremost, that the seafarers who are going to board, who are going to work on board the ships, that they have got those highly trained, they are highly trained, such that now they can be observed in the local shipping industry and also in the international shipping industry. Good. Exactly.
Very well. Thank you so very much indeed for your time. We look forward for further engagement.
Thank you, thank you.
Very good. Major retired George Okong'o, Kenya Maritime Authority Director General, joining us here. Remember, the whole of this week we have been covering the blue economy, from shipbuilding to maritime transport. We have covered all things. And next week we are off to Kisumu, whereby we'll also be giving you updates on how blue economy is helping communities and, of course, the growth of the sector. O'Brien Kimani from Mombasa. Back to you, Brian, in Nairobi.